broken, the first thing to go is my sleep. I know something's wrong when I cannot sleep. And so in this time, I'm going to bed at 10 p.m. but up at 2. Still looking at the clock at 3. Still trying to pray, but yet whatever is capturing my mind, I cannot go to bed. And finally around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, get sleepy, but yet only 2 hours later, I gotta be up. And it's just such a draining time.
Yes.
As a nurse and someone in the presence of a total health nerd, I must quickly break down why sleep is necessary. Sleep is a naturally occurring process that involves the mind and the body. You need sleep because it restores the immune system, the nervous system, skeletal and muscular system. So anytime I had patients come in and they say, oh, I can't sleep, before I even did anything else, any tests, any scans, I would say, is there something that's going on in your life? Because issues with sleep are more than likely connected with a psychological or an emotional issue. So when we go into this scripture, you'll see why I was just very confused and very puzzled for a lot of different reasons.
All right.
But at the end of this, it really helped me understand His glory, God's glory, God's sovereignty, and His favor for His children who submit to Him daily. So we can go into Acts 12 now. So if I had to coin a title for this, I would title it "A Ridiculous Nap, Resting in the Sovereignty of God." I've probably read this passage a dozen times, and I always end up with the same question. How was Peter able to sleep? This was no easy question to answer, and through prayer and sitting and chewing on it, I uncovered 3 important things that kind of build on one another. So the first layer that I noticed is pretty basic, is that he wasn't distressed by the leadership. To understand this, I couldn't just focus on the jail cell moment just yet, but the larger and broader forces that controlled why he was there in the first place. And since the text specifically mentions the leadership in this scenario, I had to dig deeper on the culture of this time. You see, I'm teaching a nursing leadership course this semester to the bachelor students, and one thing I tell them is the culture of where you're going to work in the future. You want to make sure you understand that. And who sets the culture? Whoever is in charge. And so in that culture, in the atmosphere, I needed to know what that was. And so from the leader, you understand in any environment how much wiggle room you have for foolishness. Because it's in our human nature to try to test boundaries, ever since childhood. And you think of, I thought of my nephew Isaiah. He knows the different personalities and the different cultures that have different leaders in his family set. Financially, he knows he's not coming to me to sponsor his toy ventures and ideas. He's going to my sister. Academically, he knows I am not the one who will allow him to not finish his homework. I will cancel a whole day of play if his homework is not done. He understands where the wiggle room is. So when I thought about Peter sleeping, I figured maybe Peter didn't think that Herod was a tyrant. Maybe he didn't think that he was like a Nebuchadnezzar who in Jeremiah 4 was described as a destroyer of nations. Or maybe he didn't think he was like King Ahab from 1 Kings, who killed anyone who opposed him or his wife. And maybe he thought he was maybe a bit more like King Solomon, who was wise and fair and kind of structured, but he had a little bit of wiggle room, especially if you brought him the right concubine. I figured he surely must have thought Harold Agrippa was a fluke and probably would provide a more democratic style, sort of like what Pontius Pilate offered during the trial of Jesus, asking what crime has this man committed. So maybe there could have been some wiggle room, so he could fall asleep and just think about the next day. But in my reading and research, I found that Herod wouldn't be as open as Pilate and skewed more actually to the tyrannical side.
That's right.
Here we have Herod, who, like other Roman rulers, didn't appreciate people trying to usurp or overtake their power in society. But he pulled a classic political move where he went over partisan lines and tried to figure out what the Jews would like to keep them happy and keep everyone calm. And that thing was persecuting Christians. So above all, he was fine with that. So as I thought about the ethos of this government and the track record of finding delight in martyring these new Christ followers, it showed me one thing. The probability of dying was extremely high and rather definitive. There was no wiggle room. I sat on it for a while and still wondered, how could Peter, this missionary evangelist apostle, sleep knowing there was no humanly chance of getting pardoned by this leader? So when I think about the fact this very situation was bleak, it dawned on me that he couldn't be distressed because he realized the track record of this king, lowercase k, because he understood the track record of the uppercase.
Oh, that's good.
I think he remembered from Sabbath school as a young kid the stories of Pharaoh being no match for God, leading the Israelites out of captivity. And I think he remembered God basically giggling at Herod the Great, his grandfather, thinking that he could stop the Messiah from growing up unscathed, despite ordering for all the babies to be killed at that time. And with his own eyes, he saw Jesus annihilating the reputation of Caesar and Pontius Pilate. He ordered the tomb guarded after his crucifixion. What I saw was a man who couldn't be distressed by leadership, because he saw a God with a proven record of exercising the power of a larger and he possessed the ultimate perspective of who was truly in charge. He could be in dreamland because he realized who his master was.
That's good.
So you see, sleep is associated with a state of muscle relaxation and reduced perception of environmental stimuli. So if my patients come in, they say, I cannot sleep, I'll say, turn off the TV a few hours before you go to bed. Don't be on your phone. Have a better routine. Have thicker curtains so the light doesn't come out. It doesn't stimulate you. So understanding that he wasn't distressed by the leadership, my mind wondered, why wasn't he distressed with his situation? The physical space that Peter occupied in that moment had several stimulants and distractions that could inhibit a restful night's sleep. It says he had 4 squads ordered to protect him. And I looked back and each squad contained 4 soldiers. That means for 24-hour care, he had 16 people in charge of making sure he didn't escape and he was in jail long enough to be killed. On one hand, he had shackles. On the other hand, he had shackles. On his right was one guard. On his left was one guard. And at the door, there were a couple more. The chances of him getting out were slim. Because sleep can be so intricately intertwined with emotions in that very act of slumber is a clear representation of his heart. This man was unfazed of what was going on, and he had an internal peace that couldn't be penetrated by the stimuli. Could you imagine being so at peace that the night before you were supposed to be evicted?
Say so.
Could you imagine being so at peace that you're at risk of ICE coming in to take you or your family? Could you imagine being so at peace in those seasons where you just didn't know where God was leading you next? Whether you should leave the job or stay? If you should stay in the relationship or go? Could you imagine just being so at peace during chaos going around you? Could you be at peace knowing that your friend was set to die? You felt like you could offer nothing. So I kept pausing and thinking and praying and rereading, and so I just moved on. And as the story continues, he was so relaxed that finally he woke up. He's like, oh, I've been released. He took a moment of praise and acknowledgement and walked straight to his friend's house. The one who the text says we're praying for him. From here, I realized an even more peculiar character trait about Peter and his mindset as I compared it to the mindset of the church. Because what happens next? Chaos and confusion. She didn't even let him in. She ran back and called to the people. In the New King James it reads, you are beside yourself. We just read, you're out of your mind. The King James Version thou art mad.
Yeah.
The message, you're crazy.
Yeah.
They thought she was unbalanced and hinged out of whack.
Yes, yes.
And so as I was reading through what other Christian leaders said about this, I found it a bit too easy to say that Peter outfaced them, or they were just way easily discouraged.
That's
because,
right.
And I struggled with condemning the church body and their reaction, because in verse 5 it says that they were praying earnestly,
Earnestly.
without ceasing in the New King James.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
When I looked at it in the Greek, it's the word ektenos. Fervently, intently.
Yes.
They were doing their best.
Yeah.
Doing what they knew how to. Their prayers weren't lip service.
That's right.
This is a group of people who was risking it all for the gospel.
Yes.
I became so overwhelmed earlier because I'm just reminded of you all and how you pray and in these spaces that you provide. And they were really praying for their friend Peter.
Yes.
But for some reason, Peter slept while they were awake.
Yes.
And I just wondered how this group had such a visceral response, and the best thing I could come up with, they were not people of little faith.
Yes, that's right.
They just realized in that moment how big of a God they
Oh,
served.
yes.
It was like a next level experience with God that they needed. And they were challenged in what they knew and believed about God. Was this the God who would truly answer our prayers?
Yes.
He really loves us that much.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's like how in Romans 11:33, oh, how great are God's riches and wisdom and knowledge.
Yes.
How impossible is it for us to understand his decisions and his ways.
Unsearchable.
It's like when Sarai was laughing when God promised her a child.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how folks marveled about Shadrach and friends being saved in the furnace.
Yes.
Kind of like Saul's reaction when David defeated Goliath.
Yes.
This was a faith-building experience.
Yes.
And although I marvel at Peter for sleeping, I think it showed the character of his heart and his overall mindset, where he knew he served a God who produced these out-of-your-mind experiences.
Amen.
He knew that God would be God in all his mystery and majesty and dominion, no matter what.
Yes.
He was fine with God's sovereignty.
Amen.
Maybe that's why he could walk a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
And the church then needed that moment too to kind of get on that same level.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And so understanding this mindset, I went even deeper. What is the root of that? That doesn't just pop up overnight.
Yes.
So at first he had no concerns with the leadership.
Yes.
He had no concerns with the leadership because his mindset was different.
Right.
And his mindset was different because something was different about his core. And I came to the point, and God spoke so clearly. It's because he was already dead. In Romans 8:13, it highlights the very steps. Dying to our flesh. And living by the Spirit that is guided by Christ.
Amen.
I couldn't take Peter as the old man who denied Christ 3 times as
That's
the same
right.
person who sat in the jail cell.
That's right.
The old Peter who operated out of fear, pride, and arrogance was dead.
Yes.
And in the stories that follow, he built a holy track record after he
That's
finally
right.
died.
Oh,
This is the man who died was able to walk on water. The man who died traveled several countries unharmed, spreading the gospel in times of hostility. The man who died receives visions and had more conversations with God. He's able to identify the hypocrisy of Sapphira and Ananias. The man who died was able to see his friends killed.
That's right.
That's true.
But sleep in the jail cell.
Yes.
Peter was in full surrender, full acknowledgement that he was already dead and God was going to have his way no matter what, because he made that commitment. And in that full surrender, his sleep said, do as you will with my body, Harry. Send all the guards you want to cover me. I will not be fearful. I will not be shaken, because I was led here on behalf of Christ, not my own foolishness and deception. I remember where that got me. So therefore, the killing of this body will just have my soul that is already surrendered back in the Father's arms. Out of that radical and peaceful surrender, that radical and peaceful nap, Peter ended up better than his enemies.
Yes, he did.
Alive and well, and spreading the gospel.
Amen.
I learned about I learned a lot from this missionary evangelist apostle Peter with this text. I was always reminded of understanding who's truly in charge.
Yeah.
To remember that my God is always greater.
Yes.
And to make it a daily habit to surrender my flesh,
Yeah.
my mind, and my heart to Christ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Hey.